Classical Conversations presents Refining Rhetoric with CEO Robert Bortons, a podcast where faith, business, politics, and classical education meet. Join us as we use the classical tools of rhetoric to seek truth in every arena of life.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Refining Rhetoric. And today I'm excited to have President Brian Mueller on. He is the president of Grand Canyon University and started in 2008. And he has overseen a transformation of financially struggling institution to one that is a driving force today in higher education. And the story is really cool. I've got a chance to talk to him in person before and hear it. And so I'm really excited about what he's going to share with us today. They're located in the Phoenix, Arizona. They do a lot of outreach through their students to the just groups around them. They kind of in a little poverty area nearby, and they go and do student teaching and help clean up the community. He actually was able to freeze tuition for 16 straight years. That's amazing. I know we are all seeing the struggles of student loan debt, and that's something that you guys take really seriously. And part of that has just been your visionary business mind when you're coming to finances. And just you guys are in the forefront of computer science and information technology and engineering. And, you are doing just a great job. We've had a number of students go there. When I was there visiting, we actually had a classical conversation student was serving me at one of your restaurants. And she came up to me and said, "Are you Robert?" And I said, "Maybe. Who's asking?" She said, "I was a classical conversation student." And we had a great conversation. So without further ado, President Mueller, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for having me. We are excited. We are excited for this. We're excited about the work you guys are doing, and the students that we've been getting from Classical Conversations have been outstanding, very well prepared, academically sound, just great people. So we've got a relationship going. It's really exciting for us.
Yeah, and it's been exciting for us as well. And when I went and visited the campus, you could see just like the bustle, the joy, the happiness of the students. But that's not always been the case. I was there just a few years ago, but when you came on in 2008, I think the school was near bankruptcy, just financial mess. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that turnaround and kind of what your vision has been for the college. And you've grown it to one of the largest, maybe second largest Christian college in the world.
Yeah, it's, the Grand Canyon had always been a really good place. They opened up in 1949 as a small private Christian university founded by Southern Baptists in Prescott, Arizona, moved to Phoenix in 1951, and always had about 1,000, 1,200 students. They had great programs in education and nursing and healthcare and good small college athletics, good fine arts, really good people, administrators, faculty, great students. But like a lot of small private Christian universities, were struggling financially and got in a huge problem in around 2004. They got $20 million in debt and were about ready to close the doors. And they asked us to come on in 2008. And we were very excited because we are seeing private Christian universities either dwindle in their population or close or be too expensive for most people to attend. And so we were excited about doing something different. We came in and we wanted to do something big, so we wanted to get access to public capital. We understood the public markets because of our experience at Phoenix. And so when we came in 2008, we went to the public markets, got an infusion of $254 million, and we brought that back to Phoenix. And we thought there were two large markets in higher ed, traditional students leaving high school and going to a college campus and spending 3 or 4 years there, getting prepared for life and work, and then working adult students going back to school as adults. And we thought if we had two large student populations in both those major markets, leveraging a common infrastructure, we could flip the economics of higher education and make it affordable to all socioeconomic classes of Americans. And to be honest with you, it worked out way better than we thought. The traditional campus has now grown to 25,000 students, and we're on our way to 40,000 students. The online campus now has 95,000 students in it. And we're building 80 hybrid campuses across the country. 44 of them are stood up. And we'll get to 80 in the next 5 or 6 years. And we're about 6,000 students in those in those programs, and that's going to grow to near 50,000 students. And so the demand for higher education that's rooted in biblical truth is just, there's no end in it. And we're very excited about what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I think, part of that is obviously that vision and economic turnaround, but it's more than that, right? You can give someone a bunch of money and then they go squander it, and if there's not a vision, the people perish. And one of the things that you've done, and what I saw on campus is just that community impact. It's not just about the students that are there on campus or at these satellite campuses getting a Christian education. It's then starting to live out those Christian values, and you do that, especially in that Phoenix campus and your West Phoenix initiatives and community development. So tell us a little bit about student life, because I went to Clemson, and Clemson is university, not a Christian school, but it's known for its student life. And so I came from a background of seeing that and seeing other institutions that didn't kind of have that. And GCU really stood out to me on that short visit. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's it's a very, very vibrant campus. There's so much going on. Obviously, everybody that's involved in our academic programs, we've got the 21st ranked campus in the country now in terms of classrooms, laboratories, residence halls, 32 restaurants, fine arts facilities, athletic facilities, largest club sports program in the country, largest intramural program in the country, outdoor rec. Just a very vibrant, exciting place to be. After we had been here for 3 years, in 2011, we came in 2008, we had to make a big decision because it looked like what we were doing was going to work, and should we really invest in the community we were in? It's a community of immigrants. When we got here in 2008, there were 42 languages spoken within 5 square miles of here. Today, there's 70 languages spoken within 5 square miles of here. I tell our students, we can go out and we can do international mission trips, but the reality is God is bringing the world to us. And I think he expects us to be a very, very vibrant part of what's going to happen in this community going forward. So we put together a 5-point plan, and we've been executing that for over 10 years now. The first thing a neighborhood like this needs is jobs. And we've created 16,000 jobs, and we hire people in the neighborhood to entry-level jobs. We gives them a salary, it gives them benefits, but they can send their kids to college for nearly free if they're employed here. And so we continue to grow the university out. We continue to grow 10 additional businesses that we started out, and we continue to hire people in the neighborhood. We become a major employment force in the city of Phoenix. Second thing is safety. We have a major safety initiative going on, and we're making huge progress. We're determined to make our campus is safe because we have our own police force. Crime's really non-existent, but we want the neighborhood to be safe. We're making huge progress. We have the largest Habitat for Humanity program in the world going on. That's the third initiative. We've rehabbed over 500 homes now. Our goal is 800. We have a huge tutoring program after school for the kids in our neighborhood that's led to a major scholarship program. We've awarded 1,000 full ride scholarships to kids that come right out of our inner city neighborhood. And then we have a thing called City Serve, where we've distributed over $16 million worth of brand new household goods to 60,000 families in the state of Arizona. And so that's become kind of part of the educational experience when students come here. Certainly there's an academic experience, there's a student life experience. Those are both very vibrant, but we want the students to learn to live a life of service, especially serving disadvantaged populations right from the get-go. And we want to make that part of who they are when they graduate. And that's become really our faith expression. We've lived out our faith as we've tried to revitalize this neighborhood, and it's caught people's attention.
Yeah. Well, it has caught people's attention, and sometimes I guess you catch the wrong attention. And so I wanted to highlight this. So let's paint this picture. President Mueller has basically frozen tuition since he got there. It is how much was tuition approximately?
Yeah, we've frozen tuition for 16 straight years. The average student after scholarships pays about $9,000 a year for tuition at a private university on the 21st ranked campus in the country. So it's
wow.
Most students pay less than the average state university student.
So $9,000, way less than in-state tuition. Let's just put it that way. In most states, probably all states, but I haven't checked recently. You're outreaching into the community. You're doing all the right things, and then the Biden administration sues you for misrepresenting your tuition.
Yeah, this all started 6 years ago when we went. We were a for-profit institution. That's what allowed us to go to the public markets to get access to capital. But we saw a way to go back as a nonprofit institution 6 years ago, and we executed that. And it was approved by the IRS, the state of Arizona, the Higher Learning Commission, and for some reason, the Department of Education denied our nonprofit status, and that's where all the problems began. After trying to win them over, which we could not, we eventually had to file a complaint. And when we filed the complaint, they started to retaliate. And they open up these investigations, and they look and look and look at thousands of documents. And finally, they said, well, you misrepresented cost and time to complete a doctoral degree. And I said, well, if any students complained that they were misled, they go, no, we're not saying it's based upon student complaints. It's based upon how we read your website. And it was a fishing expedition. Eventually they levied a fine against us. They suggested a fine. The fine has not been levied. It's the largest fine in the history of the Department of Ed. And it was within a couple of weeks of levying a significant fine against Liberty University. We're the two largest Christian universities in the country. So they're not even being subtle about what they're doing.
Are you saying they're targeting faith entities, or the previous administration was targeting faith entities?
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's not even, like I said, they're not even being subtle about it. But we won a very, very important case in the Ninth Circuit a couple months ago. It was a unanimous decision. They said they had no right to deny your nonprofit status. They were completely out of their lane. They didn't have the authority to do it. So that's been remanded now back to the Department of Ed, who's basically turning it over to the new administration. And we are very well connected with the new administration. They love the work that we're doing. They love the fact that we're teaching from a Christian worldview perspective, that the biblical narrative is alive and well through all 10 colleges, through all 350 programs. And we're teaching traditional American values. And so we've gone from being harassed and chased around to being in a much different place now. And I think within a couple months of the new president, the new administration, will get all of that cleared up and just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, praise the Lord for that. And it's just sad because you would think, and I think that maybe the next administration will be doing that, is saying, no, look, GCU is a place that we need to emulate. They've got best practices that we can implement in other places because higher education is a mess. You know, Clemson University, when I went there, my in-state tuition my senior year was the same as my out-of-state tuition my freshman year. Wow. That's how much tuition had raised in my 5 years there. But that vibrant Christian education, you guys have a beautiful chapel there on campus. You know, I can't speak for the satellite campuses. I haven't been to those. But what encouraged me, and I think, you know, every Christian college has to decide for themselves, and Christian parents have to decide for themselves. Are we going to go to a place where chapel is required, recommended, available? And you guys, you know, it almost looked like it was required as far as the number of people there, but the attitude and the worship, you could tell that they kind of had been led there on their own or through positive peer pressure for their you know, from their group. So tell us about y'all's chapel services. Is it required to go, or you know, how are they so vibrant? You know, why do the students show up if they're not?
Well, you know, great question. And there's a lot of ways to do Christian higher education. We're supportive of all of them. We have our own unique way. We put a lot of responsibility into what we call our student leadership group. We've got 25,000 students on campus. We have 1,200 student leaders. And we've got RAs in the residence halls, but we have a life leader on every floor. And we bring them in 3 weeks before school starts. We put them through some tremendous training so they can get ready to be the spiritual leadership group on our campus. Almost everything is voluntary. Our chapel service on Monday morning, in fact, I gave chapel to open up school yesterday at 11. We're getting 7,000 students. And if you've never heard 7,000 students sing in our arena, it's an amazing spiritual experience. But because it's voluntary, because it's them. We've got a worship arts program, and we've got 4 chapel bands with outstanding musicians. We got and so the worship is very vibrant. The speaking is good, and the focus is because they're there because they want to be there, and so we have Bible studies that are led by our student leaders on a weekly basis in our residence halls. Those are voluntary. We have a chapel service Tuesday evening called The Gathering. That's voluntary. And then we have ministerial outreach into our community, like I was talking about before. It goes on every day of the week, every evening. If you go to St. Paul Visitable Homeless Shelter on Monday morning, where they're feeding the homeless breakfast, half the volunteers or more will be GCU students. And if you go into some of our refugee apartments in our community, you'll see students there in the evening teaching young kids from the Middle East English as a second language, helping them with their homework. It's just become the service part of our faith expression has become what we're known for. And it's a really, really strong witness. That you mentioned the Department of Education. I've asked them at our expense to come down here and spend as much time as they want to on our campus, talk to anybody that they want to. They've always refused to do that because I know what they're going to find is something that is going to be irresistible, and they don't want to do that. So but it is really put us in a great place with the city of Phoenix, the state of Arizona. We're a free market entity. It doesn't cost the taxpayers a dime. We've built a $2 billion campus. Our economic value to the valley is over $1 billion on an annual basis, just with indirect costs. And so it's really a success story about Christian worldview perspective. And if you think about it in this country, every university 200 years ago was started and taught from a Christian worldview perspective. That's changed over time.
Yeah.
But we're determined to take it back in that direction again. We've got 22 advisory boards and 800 companies on those advisory boards because those companies want access to our graduates because they're well prepared academically, but they understand that from a character perspective, they're going to be the kinds of people they want in their organization. And that's a very strong witness, I think, for who we are as the church.
Yeah, amen. I mean, I always say so many Christians are like the house sitter, where you give them a list of things they needed to be done, and when you get home, your house is a wreck. And they said, "Well, did you read my list?" It's like, "Yeah, I read it." It's like, "Well, did you do my list?" It's like, "Oh, you wanted me to do something with this?" And it's like, yes, that was the whole point of go be the hands and feet. And you guys are really doing a great job living it out. Yeah, I can see why they didn't want to come visit your campus. They would have been ashamed of themselves. But speaking of visiting campuses, if a prospective student wants to come out there or one of your satellite sites, are there times of the year that are best, or do you guys have events that you guys host where multiple students come in? What are some of the ways to get that GCU experience firsthand?
Yeah, you could go to our website, gcu.edu, and you'll find a place there called Discover GCU. And if you are a senior in high school and you meet the admissions requirements, or if you're homeschooled or go to Classical Conversations, you meet the admissions requirements, we will actually fly you out to our campus for a day or two visit. Usually it's coming on one day to have a series of activities, spend the night, have another series of activities, and fly home the next day. But it gives students a chance to come to Phoenix, be on our campus, spend time with our students, spend time with the college that they're interested in, maybe attend a basketball game, a chapel service, but really get a feel for whether this is going to be a good fit for the student who's visiting. Some come with their parents, some come by themselves, but we provide transportation from the airport, and everything's really well coordinated. And so if you're out there and you're a student that is thinking about going to college next year, you're looking for a Christian university, you're looking for something that's affordable, you're looking for something in a dynamic free market situation like we've got right now in Phoenix, Arizona, which is exploding.
Yes.
We've got 10 colleges, over 350 programs, and so feel free to go make that visit. You'll make a contact with an enrollment counselor, and they'll help you arrange all the details.
Nice. Yeah, one of the things I was really impressed with when I went and visited the campus was I think I was walking through the engineering building and just the number of companies who are involved. And you just alluded to that, how companies are on campus looking for your students to work there, and what a great testimony that is. What were some of the things that you did? Because there might be other college administrators listening to this, and they want to learn from you too. Like, what were some of the outreach things, or how have you been able to get those companies in your campus when maybe some of them wouldn't even want to talk to a college
Well,
Christian college?
the first thing is, we've done so much work in the last 16 years. 75% of the programs that we have on our campus now have been developed in the last 16 years, and they've been developed with the cooperation of key industry leaders, whether it's engineering or technology or healthcare or education. We have used them to help us develop programs and develop curriculum to make sure that we're teaching the very latest in all of those academic areas. And so it starts with that. Our programs are very modern, they're very up to date, and then we are trying to get our students into internships in those companies early in their career. Many times students are getting internships as sophomores and juniors. And so many of them, because of that experience, which sometimes becomes a paid internship, they get hired by those companies and have a job even before they graduate. Sometimes it's in Phoenix, but sometimes those companies are national and it's in a different part of the country where they want to live. But it starts with building those advisory boards and seeking their input on what we're teaching in the classroom around electrical engineering, biomedical engineering, cybersecurity. And then when we can form a relationship so that our students can get involved in internships in those companies early on, those companies get very excited. So that thing has just grown to the proportions that it is today. And we've become a major force in the Southwest and we also, I should add, in addition, we believe that every student that graduates is being called into a sacred vocation. We certainly have a master's in divinity program. We produce pastors, we produce youth ministers, we produce teachers, Christian teachers. We're very excited about that work. But if you're called to engineering, or if you're called to technology or cybersecurity or to healthcare, we want you to view that as a sacred calling, because we want Christian influence in every sphere of our society. You can serve Jesus by becoming a pastor or becoming a teacher or becoming a youth minister, a worship leader, but you can also serve Jesus in your career as an engineer. And we want students to know that and believe that and feel like they're being called to those places just as much as if they were going to be a pastor at a church. And I think that will help us get influence as a Christian community in all spheres of our society, which I think we really desperately need.
Amen to that. And there's a growing, you probably have heard of them, the C12 group. They're championing something called Business as Ministry. BAM is kind of the BAAM. Mike Sharrow, I've been involved with them for about 12 or 13 years. There's over 3,100 businesses, probably 3,300 or something now, that are involved in this monthly kind of cohort of businesses trying to live that out. And so I know there's a big group of people, right? Random people do walk into churches, but mostly church pastors talk to the congregation, and presumably many of them have been saved, or most of them have been saved. But every single person in America walks into a place of business. And I think as Christians, how can we get that mentality? Like, I might be the only time this person ever hears about Jesus or sees someone who loves Jesus. How do I show that to them so that they get a little bit closer to heaven by this experience, and being able to have a college do it at scale, like you have been able to do is just impressive because, I think with the 2025 college cliff, we're seeing a lot of these colleges that may have lost their way closing soon because they didn't have a compelling vision or ability to bring Christ into the world. So, what are some of those? You talked about developing leaders in the students and some of those things that you do. I mean, I imagine that you get students from all sorts of different backgrounds, and some of them might have a more strong biblical worldview than not. So, how do you all kind of mentor them as they maybe try to go in a direction that might not fit, our understanding of a biblical worldview, but you want to be very student led at the same time. So, how do you balance, those kind of things that probably less times than not conflict, but occasionally have conflicts?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We're a missional institution. About 70% of the students that come here have faith in their background, and they want to come to a Christian university because they want to learn about the world in the context of the real truth about the world, which is the biblical narrative of creation, fall, redemption, and restoration. About 30% come for a different reason. They have a different faith in their background. They don't have any faith in their background. They want to be on our baseball team. They want to be an engineering major, and we welcome them and want them to be here. We encourage them to share their worldview in the classroom. We want our Christian students to experience what living in the world's like. Not everybody believes what you believe, and you have to learn to live in that world. But we also want these other students to be exposed to what it's like to live in a Christian community. We have hundreds of kids that get baptized every year. And inevitably, they will say, it's because I've never been part of this community. The caring, the kindness, the inclusiveness, those are things that come out of a Christian community that you can see that many of these kids just haven't been exposed to. They haven't been a part of something like that. We just had a Native American who's a walk-on on our basketball program baptized 2 weeks ago. And that's what he would tell you. He's never been part of a group of people that have that care about each other the way this group does. And he wanted to be part of that. He wanted to know where that came from, and he wanted to be part of that. And so we're a missional institution, and it's a little more difficult sometimes, but it can be very, very helpful when you have discussions in classrooms around topics like life and sexuality and why do Christians believe what they believe, and we've got professors who are outstanding at managing those conversations, and so it's different than a covenant institution where everybody signs a statement of faith, but it can be every bit as vibrant and meaningful, and it can be very, very helpful to the people who are coming who've never been part of something like that. And so it's a very, very interesting place to be because of the comprehensiveness of the academic areas, and because students come from different backgrounds. But many of them come to the Lord because of becoming part of a community that they haven't been part of before.
Well, thank you so much. President Mueller has turned around GCU from 2008 on the verge of bankruptcy to a flourishing university, one of the top ones in our country, making waves in the Phoenix and the greater area, bringing Christ, helping students see that they are the hands and feet of the Lord. So one more time, give us the website, and just, we have a homeschool audience primary that listens to this and a classical education group. Just give them some encouragement to these parents, because a lot of times they have their nose to the ground and they're not sure if they're doing a good job, but they always love to hear if you think they are.
Well, yeah, gcu.edu. You go to our website, and I we are very integrated into the homeschool community in our country. We are very familiar with classical conversations. Like I said at the beginning, I interviewed personally 4 or 5 students a year or so ago that came out of that experience because I wanted to know more about what they experienced and how they were doing here. Outstanding students, and they were flourishing here. And so I've got 6 sisters, and 3 of them homeschooled their children, and they've all turned out fantastic. It's a lot of work. I know how much work it is, and I know it can be frustrating and probably trying at times, but I can tell you that you're doing a great job, and the integration of those students into our campus has been very, very seamless. People worry about maybe lack of social experiences, but that's just not true. The homeschool movement, I think, is going to continue to grow. I think very creative solutions to education, like classical conversations, are going to continue to grow. People are really hungry for exposing their sons and daughters to the world in the context of the real truth about the world, which is the biblical narrative. I think that's the most important part of education, and it's the part that's most lacking in our society right now. But I can tell you that from our growth with 900 students 16 years ago to 25,000 students today, there's just a growing amount of enthusiasm to get back to that in our culture and in our country. And you're taking a leadership role when you're preparing your sons and daughters for life by homeschooling in that way, in my opinion. So congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. GCU.edu. It's a vibrant campus. They love the Lord, and they're making waves in the kingdom. So thank you so much. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Be sure to share it with a friend, especially if they have high school students are looking at an institution that will continue to grow them in their faith and give them opportunities as they look at creating a career and worshiping God in all that they do. So be sure to check us out on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. So until next time, God bless.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortons. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.